On this week's episode, the search is on for the next James Bond, a docuseries on the anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing, reviewing Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and why is Matt Damon the worst roommate in the world? This is The Hub on Hollywood. I'm James.
I'm Jamie. I don't know. I'd like him as my roommate. We'll find out. Let's see what this is about.
All right, Jamie, it is great to be back. For those who haven't heard, I had a big life update, a big life development. My wife and I, we have our first newborn at home.
Yay!
Yeah, little Maya Rojas is in the world. She's made her debut. Took a little bit of time off to leave the hospital, get home, get some sleep. But it's great to be back. Be honest, isn't Maya, aside from your children, isn't Maya the most beautiful baby you've ever seen?
Yes. I will say that just for you. But she's got those big, beautiful eyes.
Big eyes.
And she's so squishy and beautiful. Oh, my God. And she's just totally, totally perfect. So congratulations to the Rojases.
I can't wait to get her to watch all the best movies in the world, starting with Paddington, starting with Jurassic Park. I have a whole list that we're going to go through.
Didn't you already start this? I think I saw a picture from the hospital, right?
Yeah. In the hospital, we were able to watch Star Wars, A New Hope, and Empire Strikes Back. And so I'll probably retweet that photo of me in the hospital chair holding little Maya watching The Empire Strikes Back. It was a very great moment. For myself and for our little family. So
I think that's the most special thing for nerds like us is to share those things that you love, and especially Star Wars on day one. So she's
on day one.
She's off to a great start. So
I think so. Well, great. Well, again, it's good to be back on the Hub on Hollywood. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. You know, not only local news when it comes to casting calls, but we have local news when it comes to the Boston Marathon. The Boston Marathon is here. It's also the 10-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing. Of course, that infamous events that happened and, you know, lives lost and lives shattered forever. But we've bounced back, Boston strong. And there's this docuseries that has come out for the anniversary, right?
That's right. So available on Netflix right now. It's a 3-part series called American Manhunt, the Boston Marathon story. This is the 10th anniversary, as you mentioned, of the 2013 marathon bombing. And I've seen bits and pieces of this docuseries so far with my husband, and just compelling stuff, absolutely fascinating. The creators of this docuseries have interviewed and spoken with all of the major players from the manhunt, from the police chiefs to the mayors to, everyone that was involved in hunting down these suspects and what they struggled with. So, a major point of contention was whether or not they should release to the public, footage of these guys, whether, they didn't want to flush them out and cause more violence, but they also wanted to catch them. They didn't want They didn't want them to get away. So it was a major point of contention of how to approach catching these guys. And eventually, footage of them was leaked to the press and online. And this was a week-long ordeal. I don't know if you remember, James.
Yeah, but, I wasn't here when it happened. I was back in California. Were you here at this point?
I was not here. I was in Washington, D.C. However, I was the morning news editor there. So I was working in news that whole week. And it was our top story, even in Washington, D.C. Yeah. And I remember, being the morning editor on that Friday that they caught the Tsarnaev brothers, where the entire city just turned into this insane chase and shootout that was going, all over the city and into Watertown. And, the one brother goes down and the younger brother runs him over, and then he ends up in someone's backyard. And just when you get down to the nitty gritty details of everything that happened that day, it's even more amazing and incredible and violent than we know from what we were able to see on the news that day. The fact that hundreds and hundreds of rounds were shot, lots of bullets went into people's private homes, and not only was it law enforcement that was chasing these guys, it was private citizens that were able to come in. There was one person in particular who was a firearms instructor who just came out on his own and was able to flank one of the suspects and shoot him 9 times. And that was the sense that you got from that ordeal for that entire week. Was not only was this, the law enforcement, the FBI, the police, wanting to bring these guys down. It was the entire region. It was the entire country. It was all of Boston. They were not going to let this, they were not going to let these terrorists go. They messed with us, right? They messed with everyone. So it's really compelling stuff. You were saying?
Yeah, my wife, of course, she's from the Boston area. And so when that was going down, she told me that everyone was, locked down. It was kind of like a pre-pandemic kind of a thing where everybody is told, stay at home, don't leave, don't roam around the streets. And everybody was glued to their TV. And when the breaking news of they were located, there was this chase, there was this shootout, there was this standoff, like everybody was just, glued to the TV. And then once the call came in that the last Arnayev brother was captured, then everyone was like, okay, well, time to go to bed, because people were just glued to their screens all day long, all week long, until this thing finally finished. And so this docuseries, you said a 3-part on Netflix, right? So you highly recommend it, it sounds like.
I highly recommend it, especially if you're here in the New England region and you lived through it. It's just incredible, the depth of detail that they go into, and all of the behind the scenes decision making, the heartbreaking decisions that needed to be made, and the additional lives that were lost of the MIT officer, and and the questions are there: did we do the right thing? And so it's really fascinating stuff, and I highly recommend you go check that out on Netflix right now. This is the weekend of the marathon. Tomorrow's Patriots Day. Today, tomorrow, whenever you're watching this, it is Patriots Day, Marathon Monday, and that's a holiday in Massachusetts. So very timely, very, very timely stuff. So after you go down and you watch your favorite runners finish the marathon, head home and watch this docuseries.
All right, Boston strong. We're thinking of all the runners, all the people who were affected on that terrible day, and just hoping for the best and best turnout, because since then you just see Boston unite afterwards. So Boston strong.
Boston strong.
Talking about going strong, the Boston International Film Festival underway right now. It's always a big deal when this pops up every year.
Tons of local talent showcasing their work over this last several days and the next days to come, including several friends of the show that we've had on this program here on the Hub on Hollywood. So wanted to extend a congratulations to everyone involved and those whose films are winning awards right now. And a reminder to the local filmmakers who might be listening right now, submissions are also open for the Massachusetts Independent Film Festival. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure to get your movie submitted ASAP.
All right, perfect. And now, sticking with the Boston theme, let's talk about our favorite Boston boys, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. They're making the media rounds all around because of their new film, Air, the story of the creation of Air Jordans and that whole story. I haven't seen it yet, but it's getting great reviews, a lot of great buzz. And in one of the many stops on their media tour was on the Late Late Show with James Corden. And they talked about how back in the day, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Casey Affleck, they would stay together for the longest time. Not only did they share a bank account that would help them go to these different auditions in New York, because again, they're struggling actors, but they also found out that it was kind of a hard situation living with each other for Ben Affleck in particular. He explains how Matt Damon was the roommate from hell when they were in their early 20s, and he tells the story about Well, he prefaced it by saying, Matt, he's a beautiful guy. I love him. He's my best friend.
Right,
He's
he
been
has
great
to say that.
me my entire life. He's a brilliant guy, but he would not suggest living with him because apparently Matt back in the day was a bit of what's a nice way to say this? A pig?
Okay.
He
I don't know if that's a nice way to say it.
Maybe that's
but
not
yeah.
the nicest way to say it, but he would literally live in squalor and live in trash. According to Ben, him and Casey, his brother, they would be so frustrated that Matt would never do the dishes, and he would let dishes just pile up and pile up, so much so that they decided, you know what, we're not going to clean, we're not going to do anything until Matt says something. And this went on for about 2 to 3 weeks, and Matt never once touched a dish and never once mentioned the trash that was literally building up around him. Ben said at one point him and Casey got back home and they found Matt playing Sega, and he was in the middle of this ring of trash that just went around and around. And at the end of the day, Casey and Ben, they just had to call off this silent war of theirs and they said, you know what, it's over. We have to clean up because Matt is not going to budge. So best of friends, but maybe not the best of roommates.
So Matt won.
Matt won. He didn't know they were in this competition, that they were in this war, but he won. It wasn't even close. And so that's funny. He was saying, Ben was saying, bless his wife for living with Matt. But I'm sure they have their housekeeper or they have their home regularly cleaned because of that. But
they
now
can afford that now.
They can afford that. But now if Matt Damon ever asks you to bunk up with him, say no. No, thank you. Respectfully.
Yeah, people can't see my face right now, but I'm like, Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe not.
I was hesitant to say this, but at one point they said that they saw the trash building up and they found sushi, and the sushi had maggots on it.
No.
That's how bad it got, and how much Matt didn't even care about it. So
all right, fine. You're right.
Well, it worked out for everybody. Speaking about working out for everybody and working out for people we know, you have a special shout out, I understand.
Chris Ochoa. Okay, so a very good friend of mine from high school. He was the very athletic one, and he was also in some of the journalism classes with us.
The cool guy,
Mr. Chris Ochoa. Very cool, very muscly, tall. He's got that chiseled chin.
Remember him very well
from a very early age, and him and his sister and his mom. His mom worked at the school as well. So just an awesome family, great people, and we were friends through college. And last I knew, he wanted to be in the FBI. He wanted to be like a federal agent, and now he gets to play these amazing characters in television and in movies. So he actually landed a role in an upcoming film, The Covenant, with Jake Gyllenhaal, and he plays a soldier that accompanies Jake in these incredible scenes filmed in Turkey. So we're just really, really proud of him, happy for him. Congratulations to Mr. Chris Ochoa. Go check out The Covenant in theaters April 21st, exclusively in theaters, and look out for tall guy, muscles chiseled, a little bit of a beard on the sides, and walking along Jake Gyllenhaal. Way to go, Chris.
Excellent. That's actually a movie I want to see because we get emails all the time from studios and whatnot, and that was one of the early trailers they released for us, The Covenant. Great story about the soldier and this interpreter that they have. But The Covenant looks really good. You know what else looks really good? Maybe, possibly really good.
What's that?
The next James Bond movies. Those usually always look good.
Yeah, they do. But there's one problem. We don't know who the leading man is going to be.
No, the search is on for the next James Bond. And from what we're hearing from the casting directors, they're looking for an actor around his 30s. So I'm assuming maybe early, mid-30s at the latest, because they want to hire somebody who was the same age that Daniel Craig was when he was first cast in Casino Royale. And so, again, they want somebody to be able to fit this role for at least 10 years.
That makes sense. So you're putting in, right? You're submitting for this.
I
James,
did, and I quickly got the rejection letter.
No,
they said, even though your first name is
come
James,
on.
you are not the right build that we want for this. But we're going to help these casting directors out because we have our own list of actors in their 30s who we think could be and should be the next James Bond. There's an unsaid rule that all the James Bonds must be British, right? They must be from England.
Yeah.
And so I have some English picks and an American pick.
Okay.
I can go first. You want to go one-on-one?
Yeah, go for it.
So this actor I really enjoy this actor and everything he does, and I once nominated him on a previous episode of The Hub on Hollywood, who should play the next Wolverine, and that is Taron Egerton. He is 33 years old.
Okay.
He is from Birkenhead, England, and you may recognize him from Kingsman, the Kingsman movies, which he already kind of plays James Bond. He wears a suit, he works with gadgets, he fights like a badass and can take on many people. He's very smart and creative, and he can adapt to the different things. He also played Elton John in Rocket Man, so he has plenty of range. So he not only can he do drama, he can do action, he can do comedy. Taron Egerton, 33 years old. I think he would be a great James Bond.
Okay, all right. I mean, I can sort of see that. I think he's maybe on the smaller side.
He is a little short, but
yeah.
you can always pan. They could fix camera angles,
But
right?
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So on my list, I have actually there are 4 Toms on my list.
Oh wow!
Do they name British people anything other than Tom? But I wanted to get your thoughts on the main like Tom trio first. I'll get to this other Tom later, but Tom Holland, Tom Hardy, and Tom Hiddleston, the Tom H's of the MCU. Okay, so Tom Holland his name's been thrown out there a lot, but he's also on the smaller side. He's got a baby face. He might not be. He's 25. He's in the the younger range, so maybe not. Tom Hardy. He's got that great look. He's got that great personality.
How old is Tom Hardy?
Tom Hardy. We got to look that up to the Google machine.
Because I think Tom, I'm not sure if is he in his 30s?
Maybe late 30s.
No, Tom Hardy is 45.
Oh, okay, fine. So Tom Hardy's out, but
maybe 15 years
I could have
ago,
seen
Tom
that.
Hardy. I could see that because he has that he does have that very strong presence, and so he has like that kind of brawler look that kind of Daniel Craig had.
Right. And the other Tom, Tom Hiddleston, but I think he's aged out as well. He's 42. But, I think he could do that character justice, even though he's a little bit thinner and more scraggly. I think that he cleans up very well. I think that he could do that character.
They all look great in a suit. I think we can admit that.
Okay. But those were the Toms I wanted to look at because there were a lot of Toms being thrown in the mix as far as, who it might be. But what about Henry Cavill? Is he in his 30s?
Henry Cavill's 42. I think he was considered for James Bond when Daniel Craig was when that whole era, that deciding was going down. And so he was maybe not like a close consideration, but he was among the names that were talked about during that time. I think he would have done a great job. For sure.
Yeah.
I love that that Daniel Craig ended up getting it, but Henry Cavill would have been a really good pick also.
Well, he's 39. He's 39. He's
you want a James Bond that can that has legs. You want a James Bond with legs, and so that's why I was sticking to around early 30s, and so Henry Cavill is a good pick. However, I think who's a really good fit for this is Aaron Taylor Johnson, 32 years old, from Buckinghamshire, England. You may recognize him from Kick-Ass 1 and 2. He was also in the recent film Bullet Train with Brad Pitt. He was also in the Kingsman, which is a prequel of The Kingsman, and he was also Quicksilver in Avengers in the Age of Ultron movie. He is that guy. But Aaron Taylor Johnson, incredible actor with incredible range, and he has the ability and capability of doing a lot of his own stunts because we saw that in Kick-Ass, we saw it in Bullet Train, and he is not hard to look at. He's easy on the eyes, is what I'm trying to say. I think he looks good in a suit too.
That's true. I did really enjoy him in Kick-Ass. But you know what? Before I get to my top vote for who I'd like to play James Bond, I would like to say that my vote personally is for a brown James Bond. And I'm thinking like Idris Elba. He's got such range. He's got such gravitas. There's also Renee Jean Page. I think I'm saying that right, from Bridgerton. Who's just a beautiful, beautiful man to look at. And there's also John Boyega. John Boyega, who's just full of personality, and I love watching him on screen. Dev Patel is also another one that I love to watch, and I think he's a phenomenal actor. So my vote is for a brown James Bond. But, that's me personally, but there's so much talent there, and I would love to see any one of these very talented actors take that home.
Well, great minds think alike, because my third pick for James Bond is a potential pick, but he's an American, is Lakeith Stanfield, 31 years old. You may recognize him as one of the detectives from Knives Out. He was also in the TV show Atlanta and the film Sorry to Bother You. That guy, my wife I believe my wife has a crush on him, because she can hear his voice. She can pick out his voice from across the room. If he's on TV, she'll hear, like, is that my boy Lakeith? Like, yeah, Lakeith Stanfield. Again, 31 years old. He's very funny, very charismatic, very cool. And I think he would be very good as a James Bond. The only thing is, he's not British. But, we can play with that.
He can work with that. You get a dialect coach. And, I feel like the British do American accents so much better than Americans do British accents.
Yeah.
But we can work on that. We can make that happen. So here are my top two. These are the ones that I really, really, really want to see. And this is my other Tom Hopper from the Umbrella Academy. I don't know if you've seen him before. I think he's got the perfect look, the perfect build, the perfect height. And he has this vulnerability about him. He's got, despite being able to be cool and having, that very chiseled look, he can play that vulnerability so, so very well. So very easy on the eyes, just a beautiful man and a great actor, Tom Hopper. And he can do comedy. He does comedy very well. I mean, I love him in the Umbrella Academy. But my number one pick, James, of all, and maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't, Richard Madden of Game of Thrones, who played one of the Elder Stark brothers. One of the most beautiful men I've ever seen in my life. He's got those piercing blue eyes, just like our boy.
Yeah.
And he's got those curls, and he's got this approachability. Like, there's just something about his face that just draws you in, right?
He's handsome.
And he's very handsome.
He's a beautiful man.
Yes, but he's able to convey so much emotion, so much feeling, including the vulnerability factor, like, just with the subtlety of his expression. And I just love him in everything that he's in. And I think he would make an incredible, incredible James Bond. He's 36 years old, so he's right, he's in the middle there. He's I think, right at the sweet spot. My vote all the way is for Richard Madden.
That's
Number
a good
one
pick. That is a good pick. I will give you that. That is a really good pick. I think we're helping these casting directors out. I think they should come to us, thank us for making their job so much easier, because we just whittled this potential cast list. We whittled it down. Let us know what you think. Who should be the next James Bond? Should it be any of my picks, any of Jamie picks? Do you have anyone else who's better? Comment down below. If you are listening to us on YouTube, thank you so much. Please be sure to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you are listening to us on any of the major podcasting streaming services like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, thank you so much. Leave a 5-star review. You can also find us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, at Hub on Hollywood. Give us a like, give us a follow, and show us some love. Now, Jamie.
That's right. Yes.
Another thing that I am showing a lot of love to is the film that's been out for a couple months now, but I think it may have just left theaters and it's now on streaming services because that's where I had the time to watch it, is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, the kind of spin-off movie from the Shrek series starring Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, Florence Pugh, John Mulaney, Olivia Colman. This movie, well, first off, do you like the Shrek movies and do you like Puss in Boots, the character?
What kind of a question is that? Of course I do.
Of course you do.
I love them. I was just watching the first Puss in Boots movie with my kids just yesterday, and then all the neighborhood kids came in because that's my life now, and so I had like 5 or 6 kids in my house, like all watching the Puss in Boots movie. But we all love Shrek. We all love this universe. So yes, and I've seen the trailers for Last Wish. It looks so amazing. So I can't wait to hear what you thought of it because I need to watch it like later today.
Yeah, it is amazing, and I highly recommend you watch it with the kids, with the family, even by yourself. It's a really good film. I will admit, when I first saw the trailer for this, I was kind of underwhelmed because I thought I thought they were really, because I hadn't seen the first Puss in Boots movie that I guess came out several years ago. But when I first saw the animation style, I felt, oh, it doesn't look like the Shrek movie animation. I thought they were really cutting down on maybe the budgets. That's my initial gut reaction. But then after watching the trailer once more, like the second or third trailer that was released, it reminded me of the Into the Spider-Verse Spider-Man movies. And I love that aesthetic. It kind of that comic feel vibe. And all I've heard word of mouth is that Puss in Boots is a great movie. And the word of mouth is true. It is a really fun movie. It's action-packed. The comedy, the humor is on point. And there's so many characters in this film, but each one is distinct. Each one, there's no character on the screen that you're tired of or you don't want to see more of. They're all great casted, all great voiceover work. The story basically is when Puss in Boots discovers that his passion for adventure has taken its toll and he has burned through 8 of his 9 lives. He launches an epic journey to restore them by finding the mythical Last Wish, this shooting star that landed on Earth, and anybody who goes there can make their wish, and he wants to have another 9 lives. But you know, he meets old friends from the past. He makes new friends on this journey, and it's just a very fun ride. I don't want to spoil anything, but again, the voiceover work from everybody, including Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, especially John Mulaney, they're on point. They're perfect. The story is cute. The characters are adorable, amazing. I could go on, but I don't want to spoil it. But I will say Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It's streaming now on various streaming services. I recommend watching it either by yourself or with a family. It's good for everyone.
Yeah, 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, so definitely need to make that happen soon. This has been such a fun episode. We're so happy to have you back, +1 with baby Maya.
Yeah, thank you.
And so hopefully there will be lots more really cute kids movies in your future, and we'll add those here on the Hub on Hollywood.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to the Hub on Hollywood. Stick around after the credits because we have some casting calls, local projects that you can be cast in, can show up on the small screen, maybe the big screen, everything in between. We're going to help you out and get you discovered, get you noticed. Again, great to be back. Can't wait for the next episode. But until then, I am James.
Bond. And I am Jamie. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.
And thank you for joining us here at the end where we get you in the movies on the Hub on Hollywood, starting with a really fun one. You know, I've already submitted for this. Movie Monster is on my bucket list. It's on my wish list. They are looking for movie zombies right now for a feature film called Dweller, directed by Matt Leslie and Stephen Smith, filming in central Massachusetts, starting later this month into next month, April to May. So if you want to submit for this, okay, you have to be willing to do very physical work, i.e. you're a zombie, you're running, you're moving your arms, dragging your legs, and comfortable with heavy special effects makeup application, so those zombie looks, and sometimes those looks can take like hours to apply, so you got to be real game for that. They're also looking for people who are comfortable wearing eye contacts, like contact lenses of, creepy eyeballs. But if you're not comfortable with that, it's not a deal breaker. Just mention whether or not you are willing to wear contact lenses. You're going to want to send pictures, contact info, where you live, and outline your availability from April 24th through May 18th for daytime and overnight shoots in and around Devens, Massachusetts. And you're going to want to send everything in one email to dwellerbgcasting@gmail.com. And the more detailed you are, the better chance you have of getting selected, help those casting people out so that you can be a movie monster too. And maybe we can be together. We can be zombies together.
No, that's awesome. I could totally see you as a zombie. Again, in the best possible way.
I know. I love it. Last time I was like, I could totally see you as a dead body. Apparently that's my thing. Yeah. Me too. Thank you. I hope we get it.
All right, so Boston Casting, they're looking for Japanese men for a commercial. This is a non-union gig. It needs to be able to fit a size large T-shirt between 20, in their 20s, 40s, that year range. This pays $850 to shoot, $50 for fitting, and this takes place next month, May, April. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have baby brain on my brain, so all my dates are kind of messed up. But we have fittings on May 8th and May 9th. Again, for this commercial, looking for Japanese men. To be considered, send your information, including your phone number, email, current photos of yourself, and where you live. Send that to Boston Casting Submit 1, the number 1, Boston Casting Submit 1 @gmail.com. And in the subject line, put Japanese male, large shirt / your name.
Perfect. And speaking of Boston Casting, they are currently casting background for The Perfect Couple, starring Nicole Kidman, that is filming out on Cape Cod right now. They are constantly looking for all kinds of people for all different kinds of days. So the best thing for you to do is go to bostoncasting.com, set up a free account for yourself. You put in your pictures, your size info, all of your other information, what kind of skills you have. Can you hula hoop? Can you juggle? Are you a clown? All that kind of information, and get all of the emails, notifications for those castings as well. Boston Casting, one of the biggest agencies in town, letting us know that there are a lot of other major feature films that are slated to get underway later this spring and into the summer. So definitely look out for that. Boston Casting, a great place to start, and sign up if you want to look for those kinds of casting calls and get in the movies.
All right, perfect. Well, let us know. Again, if you don't meet any of these descriptions, but you know somebody, a family member, a friend, send them a link to this episode and get them discovered because, what do they say? Rising tide
lifts all ships. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. So thank you so much again for sticking with the Hub on Hollywood. We will see you next week with more entertainment news, local news, and casting calls.
Awesome. See you then, guys. Until then, he's still James. I'm Jamie.
Bye.